Welcome to the Holistic Growth Podcast, navigating business and natural health and functional medicine, where we bring you insights and strategies to help grow your practice and amplify your impact. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Holistic Growth Podcast. This is Dr. Tracey. I am your host and the Chief Health and Growth Officer right here at Get Healthy Store, who sponsors and hosts this podcast every week for your benefit. Today, I have a revolutionary brand that hit the market, and I have been so excited to interview Christian Drapeau, who is the founder and Chief Science Officer of STEMREGEN. And today our topic is going to be talking about endogenous stem cells, the mobilization as the cornerstone of regenerative medicine, which is a hot topic now. But we're really going to get into what are stem cells, how do they operate in the body, how can we prevent, hopefully, the decline through aging, and really talk about what is the position with chronic disease. So, Christian, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I have to know more about you and how we got to this place of this incredible product. So why don't you fill our listeners in on your background and your history and the birth of STEMREGEN?
So my background is neurophysiology. I was working at the Montreal Neurological Institute. At the time, I was working essentially on epilepsy and memory. And through a series of events, I was introduced to a company that was selling a product at the time. So this was 1995, blue-green algae from Klamath Lake. So people may know it as AFA, which stands for Aphanisum and Onflus aqua. And they were selling this product on the marketplace. And people may remember, if you go back 30 some years ago, in the United States was the passage of DSHEA, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. And companies selling products had to have science to support any of the claims that they would make on their product. So I was hired to study how this plant was working. So that's kind of what led me to working with this blue-green algae and then discovering its effect on stem cells. So originally my background is brain research.
Wow, that's quite an extensive background. So I'm very privileged to interview you because you have a remarkable background. Let's talk about STEMREGEN. It looks like you have different products. And can you just give us, let's just start basically with what are stem cells? And then I would like to get into each of the products and what you do. You also suggest protocols, and I'd like to talk about those as well. So what are stem cells? How do they work in our body?
Stem cells are, I think for me, the best way to understand what a stem cell is to first describe what is not a stem cell. So every single cell in the body is called a somatic cell. They are specialized. They do only one thing. They will never transform into another type of cells. They do not multiply to a large extent. So these are somatic cells. So cells, for example, of your heart, they will contract, and that's all that they do. They will never do something else. A cell of your retina responds to light. That's all it does. So at the other end of the spectrum, you have stem cells. Stem cells as stem cells are actually nothing. I mean, like, they don't have a function as a stem cell. Their function is in their ability to transform into another type of cells and then become something else and then repair in the body. Traditionally, what you were probably told in med school, what I was told in med school, what everybody is told in med school, probably to this day, is that stem cells are actually precursors to blood cells. They are stem cells because they have the ability to transform into another type of cells, which is red blood cells, lymphocytes, and platelets. But that was believed to be their limitation until early 2000, which is really the discovery that has led now to what is the field of stem cell research, to discover that, yes, they can become blood cells, but they can also become just about anything else in your body. And what we know today, and this is where my whole story with stem cell research started, is we published in 2001, on the basis of what was available at the time, this idea that stem cells are the repair system of the body. And in the back of my mind, the thought that it looked like this blue-green algae that I was working with, to account and explain for all the benefits that I was witnessing, if it was stimulating the repair system of the body, it would make a whole lot of sense. It was a wild idea at the time, but we discovered that that's what it was. So that's how I started in this whole field. But essentially, that's what stem cells are. They are the repair system of the body. For most people, it's an injection. You go somewhere, you get an injection of stem cells. People may think that these are the only stem cells that matter in their life, the one that they have just paid quite a lot of money for, but it's not. Since the day we are born, stem cells play as I was going to say, an amazing role. It's not an amazing role. It's a vital role. Like they are essential for our survival. They play a role of repairing tissues that are injured, something that every single individual on the planet has witnessed the human body can repair. And they also play a role in maintaining organs and tissues as we age. So that's really what stem cells are, and that's how important it is they are in our lives.
Yeah, so they're really part of regenerative health and our ability to recover even if something would happen. So what would impact their decline? I mean, I know age would be a factor, but what other things could impact stem cell, just basically declining throughout the years?
Well, let's first address the one that you just mentioned, age, because it's important to understand the impact of this. So we're born with red marrow that makes stem cells, and for a reason that we can hypothesize, all kinds of reasons, but for some reason that red marrow converts into fatty marrow that does not make stem cells. We must understand that the growth process as a child requires a level of of providing new cells to tissues that is obviously much higher than what is needed when you're 30 years old. So is that the reason that why we have evolved this way? But in any case, we have evolved over tens of thousands of years with a life expectancy of about 30 years of age. And it just turns out that that conversion of red marrow into fatty marrow that happens in all the long bones by age 15, all the red marrow has received in the top, like the head of the long bone. So we have lost by age 15, 50% of our red marrow. By age 30, almost 90% of our red marrow, which means a 90% decline in the number of stem cells in circulation available to participate in this process of tissue repair. And it is probably why, not probably, it is why we all experience at somewhere in our 30s, early 40s, if we have an injury or if you go to the gym, you do something unusual, you don't recover as well as we used to. And it's just because there are not as many stem cells available to participate to this process of tissue repair. So that's a natural decline that is just part of our natural physiology. And that is why boosting the number of stem cells as we age can have such an amazing impact on our health. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. So that's the first thing to understand. Whether you do all good, like you live on a mountain, fresh air, fresh food, fresh water, fresh everything, your red marrow still converts to fatty marrow. Now, on top of that, we know that things like, it is not known to this day, if there's anything that can either accelerate or slow down the conversion of red marrow into fatty marrow. Data would suggest that fasting, which obviously in naturopathy is very well known and documented for a broad range of health benefits, fasting looks like it is rejuvenating the bone marrow. Like if you take a stem cell from the bone marrow before and 3 days after fasting, the stem cells 3 days after fasting act as younger stem cells. They have rejuvenated. So is it because we have an impact on the red marrow? I don't know, but we certainly have more effective stem cells. Smoking cigarettes, stress will suppress stem cell activity. We know after a surgery, the surgeon will tell you try to stop smoking because it will reduce your ability to heal. And at least we know that one of those effects is going through suppressing your repair system. So it makes a lot of sense. Things that we can do, alcohol drinking will also suppress stem cell function. This is what is known so far directly. I mean, we can extrapolate, but scientific documentation, this is what is known that can suppress stem cell function in the body.
Well, we know that We don't have any stress, right, Christian? We're fine.
That's what I used to do. If I give a lecture in any city, I will tell them, yeah, I know that here, people are not stressed, but elsewhere in the
Not
world,
at all. Mm-mm.
people live in stressed and that's a reality.
Yeah.
I would say even more so today with social media, that level of stress starts in a child. And for decades, if somebody does not develop a way of really managing stress, and even with managing stress, we are exposed to a level and a kind of stress right now that is very different from the stress that our body was as developed with. The stress that we experience is a stress like, am I going to be eaten by the bear or not? And I flee or I fight. I mean, that's what our physiology was developed for that.
Right.
And now
And
the
then it's
stress,
over.
yeah, and now the stress comes from the same fear, but the fear comes from your bills to pay, everything that you are afraid could happen in your life is likely not to happen, just like Mark Twain was saying, I spent my entire life resolving problems that fortunately never happened. This is the stress that we impose on ourselves. And so with this lifestyle and this way of living, yeah, our entire life, our ability to repair is repressed. It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's huge.
And we don't know what the impact is yet to this generation coming up. Right. I think we're
Hmm.
seeing it a little bit in the infertility skyrocketing and, kids that are in their 20s. We see the massive metabolic dysfunction of our
Hmm.
youth. I mean,
Yep.
I don't mean to sound mean in any way, but I look at these young girls that are from the age 15 to 25, and I would say the majority, 70% of them, are overweight to
Hmm.
obese.
Correct.
That's not how it was back in my day, right? And I'm a 1980s kid. So I just think we don't see the impact of all of the EMF, all of the stress, the dopamine, all the things that we are allowing into our children's lives, and you can't escape it. I mean,
Hmm.
these kids go to school, they're on iPads all day or they're on Chromebooks. Like it's constant stimulation to the neurological side that they never get a break from. And then they come home, and we used to be able to leave the bullies at school and not worry about things till the next morning. And now they have these Snapchat groups and it just continues and the stress just follows these kids everywhere. So
Hmm.
I love that you kind of pointed that out, that stress was huge because it is one of the biggest things that I work with my clients when they come to see me. It is a question that I ask them all the time is what is your current level of stress? And do you have any trauma or associated stress in your past that might
Hmm.
affect your health today? And it really pauses them because they're like, well, I never thought of that. And I really think people don't. We're just so used to being stressed out and basically thriving in a society that feeds on stress, more production, more time, less rest. Like if you rest, you're lazy. So I really appreciate that because I want everyone to hear it. This is a product anyone could take, correct? We could
Yeah.
all benefit just from a daily dose of STEMREGEN as healthcare professionals, especially who we take care of everybody else. But even for our patients, this could be something that we could position for them to say, guys, your stem cells, those are your regen potential. You want to have a daily dose. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, this is the core of the message that I've been trying to bring forth for like 20 some years. And it's hard. And it's so simple. I think it's hard to penetrate because the unconscious question, I think, in a lot of people's mind is that if this is like it's too simple, and if this is true, why am I not taught this in college? Like how is it that for the last century, so we have discovered the endocrine system, the immune system, the nervous system, the last systems to be discovered and described was in the early 1900s. And now a century later, we discover the body as a system that we did not know. It's hard to kind of swallow, but honestly, you just have to go through this big swallow the bite because it is exactly what it is.
Mhm.
Just like you have an immune system, the body has a repair system. If you have a cold, you will not think twice. You will do something. Everybody will jump on vitamin C and whatever it is that boosts the immune system. It's the same thing. If something is broken in your body, regardless what broken means. Like a tissue is not functioning as it should. That means it's broken. Repair system needs to be engaged as at least the first line of defense. That's the key message. So what you said is right on. Absolutely. As we're aging, anything that shows up, we should just say, let's tap into the innate ability of the body to repair, which in naturopathic medicine, we have known for decades. Like this concept that the body has its own ability to repair, we've known it. We've just never had an actual physiological phenomenon to hang into. Now we know what it is. It's stem cells.
This episode is brought to you by Myos MD. What if there was a natural way to reduce the muscle loss we all experience with age? Let me introduce you to Myos MD. Myos MD is a powerfully unique supplement designed to reduce muscle loss, whether it's through aging, injury, illness, or weight loss. The secret? Fortitropin, an all-natural bioactive compound developed by top scientists and researched at some of the world's finest institutions. Here's how it works. Fortitropin has been clinically shown to lower myostatin, increase muscle protein synthesis, and reduce anabolic resistance. In fact, in a double-blind, placebo-controlled study at the University of California, Berkeley, men and women aged 60 to 75 saw an impressive 18% increase in muscle protein synthesis with Fortitropin compared to a placebo. And subjects saw these results with no additional exercise. This isn't just a supplement, it's science in action, helping your patients build muscle, recover faster, and live powerfully. To learn more about the research and benefits of Myos MD, visit myosmd.com today.
Wow. Yeah, I think we need to change the term regen to like pre-gen. It shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be a forethought.
I think so.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your research that you found with blue-green algae. What was your outcome of that, of all the studies that you did? It looks like, there was some good clinical evidence that it actually promoted stem cell activity from bone marrow into, our bloodstream. So give us a little synopsis of what you found through your research with blue-green algae and how you came to STEMREGEN.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than evidence. It's like now we've proven that's what it does. So in 1995, I was hired by this company called Celtech at the time. I was their director of R&D, and I started to study this blue-green algae. The main benefits, I started by a survey of consumers and see what was their experience. And it was clear, of course, every single individual experience is different, but it was clear that I could put that into three buckets. One was inflammation, one was immune boosting, and the other one was there was an effect on the nervous system that would manifest in probably half of the consumers in terms of mental energy, mental clarity, antidepressant, mood elevation, just people just feeling better. So we very quickly, in a matter of a year or two, we very quickly identified a specific compound in blue-green algae called phycocyanin that is a COX-2 inhibitor. So in the years of it, we discovered that in the years of Celebrex and Vioxx. So we basically had a natural alternative to these drugs that was completely safe. But it's a blocker of COX-2. We have a polysaccharide that stimulates various parts of the immune system. It's a beautiful immune modulator. And then we found that it's a natural source of phenylethylamine, which is known in chemistry as the molecule of love. So it just makes you feel like you're content. So we discovered that fairly quickly. But as I'm doing this work of surveying these consumers, I came across people who reversed multiple sclerosis. I'm talking like several years in a wheelchair, and within a matter of 8 to 10 months, with rectal touch, to have bowel movement every day, and 8 months, 10 months later, the person had still MS. Meaning like if there's something stressful in their lives, she would feel it, like it would impact her more than a normal person. But Outside of these episodes, she had a normal life. Then we have cases of severe emphysema on oxygen tank many hours a day to basically within a few months having a normal life. Cases like this with heart disease, diabetes, liver failure, kidney failure, Parkinson, Alzheimer's. So at some point, these cases became too numerous to just deny. And some of them, I got the medical file, and it was obvious that there was something there that, and for me, there's, I guess, at the two extreme, there are two types of scientists. The scientists who will say, until it's proven in a double-blind study, then it's not real. And there's the other type, which is more me. If I observe something in the real world, but I don't have a study for it, I'm not going to deny what I have seen in the real world. I'll just say I don't have an explanation for it.
I agree.
And these cases that could not be explained became too numerous, and it became a real motivation for me to try to dig in and see what it was. So I won't go into all this. We did a number of studies to try to understand. I'll skip all of those because they're interesting, but they're not relevant to our discussions. And it's after a number of these studies, having good data, but still nothing that was like the aha moment, like, okay, we've got it. When I came across a paper, so you need to go back in 2001. This paper was titled Turning Blood into Brain. It was the first paper documenting stem cells from the bone marrow, leaving the bone marrow, going into the brain and becoming a brain cell. So you go back in 2001, stem cells are only known to be precursors to blood cells. And my field was brain research. We were told the brain does not regenerate. And now you see a stem cell going from the bone marrow to the brain and becoming a neuron. I thought it was pretty impressive. So I was curious. So I went into the local medical library at the college in Klamath Falls, and then I started to dig into all this scientific literature to see what else I could find. I found another paper documenting the same thing in the liver and another one in the heart. So I just thought, how can I imagine a mechanism of action in the body, like a process in the body that would make stem cells become liver, heart, and brain, but not the rest, like pancreas, skin, and lung? Makes no sense. So that means give it a few years, scientists will show that stem cells can become these other types of cells as well. And if they can, then that means they have to be the repair system of the body. How can you see a stem cell going to the brain and becoming a brain cell, and you would say, oh, that was a crazy stem cell? It will be like you seeing a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, and they say, that was a weird caterpillar. No, it's telling you that caterpillar can become butterflies. So I took all the data available at the time, and we published an article in a journal Medical Hypotheses suggesting it looks like stem cells are really the repair system of the body. And in the back of my mind, what I thought is that if stem cells are the repair system of the body, and you have a plant that stimulates stem cells, just like plant stimulates the immune system, now we have a plant that will stimulate the repair system. Well, as stem cells are released, they will go into the pancreas of the diabetic, the heart of the heart patient, the lung of the emphysema patient, the brain of the Parkinson patient. So you should have a broad variety of benefits, and that's what we had with this blue-green algae. So for the first time, I had a hypothesis that made sense, completely far-fetched. I couldn't find one scientist who didn't tell me, you're nuts. This is like fairy tale stupid. But it made sense to me. So we acquired a flow cytometer to count stem cells, and then we started on ourselves and taking our own blood and counting stem cells. And very quickly we discovered within about an hour after consumption, this blue-green algae was putting more stem cells in circulation. So then we escalated that into a crossover double-blind placebo-controlled studies to really demonstrate the phenomenon. Then the scientists would say, well, it's great, but still without a mechanism of action, maybe it's just like a bizarre observation. So we demonstrated the mechanism of action, the active compound. We did a proof of concept study, and then it became very real. So this product was really triggering what I have called endogenous stem cell mobilization. So in scientific terms, the release of your own stem cells as a way of tapping into the regenerative power of stem cells. That's how it all started with this blue-green algae.
That's amazing. And so this blue-green algae, what is the mechanism of how it stimulates? Is it providing more oxygen, better signaling? Don't get too
No,
technical.
it is very, I would say, pharmaceutical, if you want. Like it, and quite frankly, the more we study plants, we realize that plants have molecules that act in the body like pharma compounds, you know? So blue-green algae contains a glycoprotein that is a blocker of L-selectin. L-selectin plays a crucial role into the mechanism of stem cells adhering to the bone marrow matrix, the expression of adhesion molecule that will make stem cells hang on to the bone marrow matrix. So when you block this L-selectin, you interfere with this process, and stem cells get released from the bone marrow, which is the same phenomenon from a different angle, but the same phenomenon that is also activated when you have an injury. Your body will release compounds that will interfere with that same process in the bone marrow to trigger the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. So the studies or the model that have been studied is heart attack, bone fracture, burn to the skin, stroke, within, let's say, 3 to 5 days after, well, within 12 hours of that injury, we can pick up in the bloodstream the compounds released by the injured area that will, starting on the second day, will trigger the release of stem cells from the bone marrow, and it will peak at 3 to 5 days, up to tenfold increase in the number of stem cells. So all of that is a normal process of repair in the body. We simply have a molecule that is sort of, let's call it, an injury mimicking compounds, like you have fasting mimicking compounds.
Wow, that's amazing. So it looks like you have mobilize, release, signal, and then you have a sport
Correct.
mentioned STEMREGEN. Can you just walk us through the difference of the product offerings that STEMREGEN offers? And then I'm going to ask you more specifically about positioning in different chronic diseases, because let's just do
Okay.
that. That sounds fun.
Okay, so Release is the first product. So it started with this blue-green algae. We actually first launched a blue-green algae extract product in 2005. We sold probably 400 million of that product over the next 10, 12 years. But I saw what it could do in people's lives. But as long as it's a blue-green algae product, it could never really penetrate the medical community. And for me, it became important when I saw what this product could do. Literally, I go back early 2001 when the whole thing, when it suddenly, I wouldn't say as a vision, but there's a point where in one moment it was like, oh, wow, I kind of saw what it all meant. And I remember having the thought, oh my God, we're putting an end to disease. And here we are 25 years later and still like battling to make all of this be seen by the medical community. I still believe today, no doubt, that when that gets incorporated, all that knowledge gets incorporated, we are going to raise the level of health and reduce the level of healthcare costs dramatically. So with that in mind, I needed a product that was stronger, that could really talk to the medical profession. So I went on to another quest to find other plants that have an effect on stem cells. So I basically asked the same. So with AFA, this blue-green algae, we saw that it was bringing a broad variety of benefits to different people. So I simply looked in the scientific literature, what other plants have been documented over the centuries to be associated with a broad variety of health benefits. And I tested a bunch of them. The stars that we discovered came from remote areas of the world. So we have a specific species of aloe from Madagascar, a specific extract of a berry from the Tibetan Plateau, a seaweed coming from Tasmania, and so on. So STEMREGEN Release is the top 5 plants that we have documented triggered the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. Blue-green algae ended up actually being the weakest of the bunch. It's just the one that allowed the discovery of the whole process. So you take 2 capsules of STEMREGEN Release, and you will roughly double the number of stem cells that you have in circulation within, let's say, 2 to 3 hours. So it sends a wave of stem cells that can then do repair in the body. So that's STEMREGEN Release. When athletes started to use it, they saw the impact on recovery. It will make you recover from any kind of severe or intense physical activity overnight. And it meant a huge impact on recovery and performance for athletes. But top athletes, professional athletes will not take it if it is not certified NSF. So we put the product through certification, to NSF certification, but because it contains colostrum, which is a natural source of insulin growth factor, you'll never test positive, but it's in there, then certifying bodies for, with regard to sports and product that can be on the WADA list will not certify a product that has colostrum. So we made another formula in which we just switched the colostrum for pterostilbene, which is well documented to stimulate stem cell migration, differentiation, proliferation, and differentiation into chondrocytes, cells for tendons, muscle. So essentially recovery for physical activity. So that makes it a formula that is really targeted for sports, and it's certified NSF. So it's the same formula, just a little bit more pushing towards sport recovery and certified NSF.
Okay.
So what we have seen over the years is that while we have a high level of success, for example, one study that we're doing right now, it's an ongoing study, but we have published preliminary results of that study on the 10 first patients. So it's on chronic stable congestive heart failure. We have no desire to position this product, STEMREGEN Release, for heart failure. No desire whatsoever. What we want to do is we want to show that once you've released your own stem cells, they are your repair system and they can repair anything. So we're picking up conditions for which medicine normally will tell you there's nothing we can do for you. Like your heart cannot repair. What we want to show is that your heart cannot repair at 60 years old because you don't have enough stem cells to repair. But if you happen to have more stem cells, your body does have the ability to repair. So we're doing a study on stable congestive heart failure, and all we do, we take people that have at least 2 years of a steady condition, congestive heart failure, and then we just put them on STEMREGEN Release, 2 capsules 3 times a day. We follow them for 6 months, and all 10 after 6 months in that study so far have normal heart function. 10 out of 10 is more than what I would have expected. So I'm sure as we continue to go to 100, it won't be 100 out of 100. So the point is that as we've seen this over the years, why is it that in some people we don't get the results that we would expect? Let me open a small parenthesis here. Oftentimes when I present this in a lecture, I show a video that has been done by the group of Doris Taylor. It's a fascinating video. Just to really, I want to impact the minds on the raw regenerative power of stem cells. So she took the heart of a mouse, she digested the heart, the cardiac muscle, with digestive enzymes. After about 12 hours, what she's left with is the connective tissue of the heart, the soft skeleton of the heart. But that connective tissue still retains the trace that it was a heart. So on that connective tissue, she lays out the stem cells, bone marrow stem cells extracted from that animal, and a week later, she has a beating heart in the test tube.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
This is the raw power of the stem cells sitting in our bone marrow. So for me, the question is not, oftentimes the question is like, are these stem cells real? Like, is it real, all this stuff about stem cells? This is the wrong question. The question is, what stands in their way to be able to achieve that in the body? That's the question. And releasing them is the first thing, because you don't have enough of them in your blood to achieve that level of repair once you've passed, let's say, 40, 50 years of age. So the first thing is let's put more in the bloodstream. The second thing is to understand that if you have a chronic condition, let's say you have a problem that you've had like for 2-3 years in your body and it's not repairing, we need to understand the body is constantly going through a process of tissue turnover. You have a new liver every, let's say, 2-3 years. So if your liver is fine, That's because you are releasing stem cells and they're doing their job. Otherwise, your liver would be damaged. So your stem cells are there, they're doing their job. The question is, they're not going to where you have that injury or that problem that is chronic, most likely because the chronic nature of the problem has affected the local microvasculature. So the big 30 micron stem cells cannot circulate into a 12 micron capillary. So we need to open and restore proper microvasculature. So we have developed Mobilize. Mobilize is nattokinase that develops greater blood fluidity, so better entrainment of cells into microvasculature. We have nitric oxide producers to dilate arterioles, so you bring more blood to the capillaries. But capillaries will extend or expand passively. So their ability to expand depend on the flexibility of their matrix in which they are. So that is collagen and connective tissue. So in order to rebuild proper collagen and connective tissue, we have a bunch of bioflavonoids that act as cofactors for all this process. And then oftentimes people have, as they age, damaged glycocalyx that support the proper flow of cells into the fine vasculature. So we have polysaccharides that help rebuild the glycocalyx. So Mobilize is a multifaceted product that has essentially 4 technologies. Blood fluidity with nattokinase, nitric oxide producers, bioflavonoids to rebuild collagen, and polysaccharides to rebuild the glycocalyx. Now that we have given access to stem cells, to all the blood vasculature, the second thing that stands in the way is if the signal for inflammation, you know this very well in naturopathic medicine, it should be a localized signal. It should be temporary during the time of the injury. The injury repairs, inflammation disappears. When injury stays and they become chronic and they continuously send out this signal that is only meant at the core to attract stem cells to that area, to tell stem cells, this is where you need to come for repair. When that signal becomes systemic, then that signal for stem cells now become noise in the bloodstream. It's a little bit, to make that into a simple analogy, you've got a fire that is going on into a big building, but it's a slow burning fire. And you go there 2-3 weeks later, and the whole building is filled with smoke. You can't find where the fire is. First, you need to clear up the smoke, and then you will see where the smoke is coming from. This is what systemic inflammation is to stem cells in your bloodstream. We first need to reduce all that background noise so that stem cells can see where that signal is coming from. So Signal is a product that we have developed, which is a blend of plant extract that are like this phycocyanin that we mentioned before that is going to block COX-2. We have other compounds that will block 5-LOX, that will block various pathways of inflammation so that we reduce all these compounds. We have bromelain that will digest existing inflammatory cytokines. So we suppress all this background noise so that the signaling becomes healthy and stem cells can see where to go in the body. So that's the whole protocol. You take the 3 product, STEMREGEN release, that puts more stem cells in circulation, Mobilize that opens the microvasculature, Signal that suppress all this background noise, and now stem cells that have been released can reach the area that is in need of repair. That's the whole protocol is meant to achieve.
Wow. Now, the dosages that you recommend, is that based on the person, the body weight, the disease associated, or is it set? Oh, this is what we suggest for everything across the board.
Correct. This is what we do in all of our studies. We do 2 capsules 3 times a day. We did not have Mobilize and Signal before. They're relatively new products. So now all our future studies will include these 2 products in the way that I'm going to describe it to you. And the main reason why they're the same for everything, it's to understand that from a clinical standpoint, or as a clinician, a person comes to your office, obviously you need to address their condition that they have. That's not what we do. I mean, STEMREGEN release does only one thing. it puts more stem cells in circulation. That's the mechanisms of action. So we don't address it from the angle of the problem. We address it from the angle of the physiological function that will then take care of the problem through repair. So the protocol is really the same for any kind of condition. So what we do is 2 capsules 3 times a day, and we have designed that out of one aspect comes from the understanding of the physiology of stem cells in the body. And the other one is from 20 years of experience of really seeing what is working in people. So we understand that stem cells will remain in the bloodstream, will have a residence time in the bloodstream of anywhere between 1 to 6 hours, 6 minutes to 6 hours, average of about an hour. So as you trigger the release of stem cells within the first 2-3 hours of consumption, that means the residence time in the blood will be roughly about 6 hours. So we tell people take 2 capsules every 6 hours, and in the normal waking hours of a day, that will be 3 times a day. So you take 2 capsules 3 times a day, and we send 3 waves of stem cells in the body, stem cells that are then available to participate to tissue repair. Mobilize and Signal they need to be taken on an empty stomach because they both contain an enzyme, nattokinase and Mobilize, bromelain and Signal, and we want this enzymatic activity to be systemic, meaning in the bloodstream. So we want the capsules, we don't want these enzymes to be used in the digestive process. So you take them on an empty stomach. You do this in the morning. It's the ideal because these products will have their maximal effect, let's say within an hour, 90 minutes after consumption, and the effect will last throughout the day. If somebody really, they know that they have poor microvasculature because they have neuropathy and vasculopathy as a consequence, or as a little sister to neuropathy, you get somebody that has easily cold feet, cold hands, then you know that vasculature is an issue. Then you can do Mobilize twice a day. If you know that historically you have a problem with inflammation, then you may want to do the 4 tablets of Signal to not all at once in the body in the morning, but you may want to do them 2 twice a day, spread them throughout the day. But then it gets more complicated. So in our studies, that's what we do. We tell people you take 1 sachet of Mobilize in the morning, 4 tablets of Signal, and then 2 capsules of STEMREGEN release. You take all of that at once. And 2 other times in the day, irrelevant of mealtime or empty stomach or not, you take twice, you take 2 capsules of STEMREGEN. That's the general protocol that we do in our studies. It makes it simple for everybody.
Yeah, and getting the empty stomach out of the way. So it looks like you have different delivery systems. It looks like the Signal is a tablet, the release is a capsule, and then the Mobilize is a powder. Was there a theory behind that, or was it because there was so much goodness in Mobilize, it had to be a powder?
Well, Mobilize was a powder because, what I'm going to say here holds true for all products that we have. We want to make sure that we put the amount that we have shown in our studies have the effect. So we want to have the full amount. So when you add all of this up in a product like Mobilize, we have 4 technologies in Mobilize. It builds up to too much raw ingredients. So all these raw ingredients, we would need to roughly, I think it was 8 capsules for those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. So we put it into a stick pack. Granted, the taste was not good, so it was quite of a challenge to be able to make the product palatable, but I think we did a good job. So if somebody takes it and says, well, it's not as good as apple juice, the answer here is yeah, but if you had seen what it was before, you would realize this is delicious.
Yeah.
So this is what we have with Mobilize. It's in a sachet because we have too many active ingredients. In Signal, it's a little bit the same thing. So it's in 4 tablets. Tablets are easier to swallow than capsules. So we went to tablets just to make the whole uptake of 4 capsules to just be easier.
Okay.
So that's why we went in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't understand product formulation and all the thought, and especially the taste of powders to get those correct. It can be 3 and 4 or 5, 6 generations of what you're trying to establish. So really difficult to get a powder to taste good, especially if you have a lot of raw active ingredients like you do. Well,
And a lot of actives, at least with the plants that we're working with, but a lot of actives that are in the world of anti-inflammation. If you, like, say, I don't know, let me take like one of the nastiest, andrographis, which we have in Signal. If you ever have a chance to have an extract of andrographis and you take a little bit on your tongue, like in your mouth, the taste of it is so abject and so bitter that I kid you not, it will trigger a migraine for the rest of the day. It is absolutely obnoxious. So to be able to make that palatable is virtually impossible. So with a product like this, we had to go to a tablet. Mobilize have some of those active. There's a lot of polyphenols, bioflavonoids. These are bitter. So in order to be able to build that in the product that is palatable, you cannot fight bitterness. Bitterness is bitterness. You can add sweetener to reduce it. So we basically moved it with a flavor that goes with like tart berries. So your palate identifies this tartness and this bitterness as coming from a berry. So you kind of like it. But if it was not with that kind of flavor system with it, you would not find it delicious at all. So it, like you said, it's not a single process to kind of make a product that is like this, make it palatable.
right. Well, congratulations. So you kept the goodness and the flavor. So we're coming to the end. I just wanted to ask, I guess more of a general question rather getting into specifics. So a lot of people do get stem cell injections. How would you compare your product to that type of therapy? And then I'll ask you one more question.
Okay. We did the study on the heart with that question in mind. So the study actually, we published on the first 10 patients, but the study has three groups. One group is just STEMREGEN release. The other group is adipose stem cell injection. And the other one is a combination of both. Because we have seen empirically over the years that taking our product gives results that are oftentimes comparable to stem cell injection. But when people combine both, they tend to get much better results. So far, that is what the study is showing us. The results with STEMREGEN compares with stem cell injection, but when you combine the two, you get almost like twice the benefit. Right. So at the end, the best way to capture the data that we have so far, it would be to say, if you can afford a stem cell injection, go for it. But you would be foolish to not add STEMREGEN to it because it will maximize your investment. If you cannot get a stem cell injection, if you cannot afford it, then STEMREGEN is going to give you similar results. And what I mean by similar results is that an injection of stem cells will be roughly about 100 million stem cells. A big one can go up to 200 million stem cells with a survival rate of about 20%, maximum 25%. So 200 million, you get roughly 40 million stem cells. You take 2 capsules of STEMREGEN, an average 50-year-old will release about 10 million of their own stem cells. You do this twice a day, 3 times a day, you will have released 30 million of your own stem cells. Do this for a month, you will have released 900 million of your own stem cells. You start to see that over time, the cumulative impact of this starts to be like really significant. So that's where I think taking a product like STEMREGEN, not on the day of the treatment, but over time, cumulatively amounts to something that is quite significant. And the other side effect, if I could say, of this positive side effect is that if you have an active life and you go to the gym and you have an injury, you sprain an ankle, whatever is happening in your day-to-day life, you cannot always travel to South America to get a stem cell injection. So that day-to-day boosting of your body's ability to repair starts to penetrate every single aspects of your life, and at the end of the day, just increase your overall quality of life. That, I think, to me, that's where the big impact or the big benefit is of an approach like STEMREGEN release.
Wow. Well, this has been amazing. I'm in. I think it's a great product. I have so many more questions, but we're kind of at our time. So I'll save all those for the next time I bring you back and ask you really poignant questions about chronic disease. But I just wanted to say thank you for all of the information you've provided and for your research in the industry. This is going to be game changing for a lot of people that have been struggling, and for the practitioners listening. You can work this protocol in with your healthy patients, people that have recovered from chronic disease, and people that are actively battling any type of chronic disease, which is, pretty much inflammation-based overall nutrient deficiency. So it's one more tool in our toolbox. So I'm really excited about this. So thank you for being here.
It is, but there's something you said there, Stacey, that is important, is that we tend to see in today's regenerative medicine inflammation as being the cause of a lot of problem. And we oftentimes forget that inflammation is not the cause. The cause is an injury that is not repairing, that is signaling for repair, and that signaling becomes dysregulated and then becomes the cause of other issues. So the cause is really a non-repaired damage in the body, and it does not repair because at the age that you have this problem, you don't have enough stem cells to do that repair. The moment that you put more stem cells in circulation and you repair, you kind of get rid or take care of that problem at the very, very source.
So almost like overcoming the senescent cell, where it's not repairing, but it's not dying either. You kind of have these just sluggish cells that are signaling for help, which creates this systemic inflammation, which confuses stem cells because they don't know where to go now.
Correct.
So very interesting. Like I said, I have so many more questions, but I'll save them for when I bring you back. Thank you. Do you want to leave our practitioners with any last words of knowledge, anything you want to share?
I mean, if you have any question, go either to you, Tracey, or go to our website, STEMREGEN.co. You can see all the... If you don't see what you're looking for, ask the question. It will get to me and you'll get an answer.
Wonderful. Well, guys, if you have a Get Healthy store, STEMREGEN, all of the products, Mobilize, Release, Signal, and Sport are available on your Get Healthy catalog. So make sure you add those to your store and start promoting those to your patients. And reach out to STEMREGEN, get a wholesale account, start the products for yourself. As practitioners, we cannot help everybody or anybody if we don't regenerate and fill our own cup. So I'm going to put this into my daily regimen. I'm sold. Thank you, Christian, for being here. Thank you for everything you're doing. If you find this podcast interesting, please share it with somebody that could use this information. Make sure you like us on all socials and make sure you subscribe.